What is up, IF Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about how to burn belly fat when doing intermittent fasting. The dreaded belly fat. That's probably in the minds of so many of you out there. I'm going to explain why that tends to be the case and how you can actually try to burn belly fat using intermittent fasting. We're going to go ahead and break it down in this video. Now, quickly before we start, this video is brought to you by yours truly, Fledge Fitness and the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. If you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you waiting for? With an aluminum handle, an ergonomic design, and swivel design, you can't go wrong with the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. Please keep in mind that because of this pandemic event and the high demand of the jump ropes, we've had some unit shipping issues, but we are awaiting our units, and as soon as we receive them, we will be shipping it out to all of those who've pre-ordered. And you still have a chance to pre-order to be able to get that unit batch. You can click down in the description below or on the top right hand corner of this video and it'll take you right to the website. And of course, as always guys, thank you for your support. Now let's go ahead and go right into the video. All right, cool. Now before the keyboard warriors, literally, because I know their fingers are twitching because of the title of the video, they're twitching so that they can write, "You can't target belly fat," and that's true, and I've said that in every single one of my videos. You can't. You cannot physiologically do something to specifically target belly fat, as your body will lose the fat in the way it sees fit. But that doesn't make it the be all end all, because there's still an understanding of how we can get rid of belly fat, even if you cannot specifically target it. And one thing that people need to understand so that the psychology can help them keep pushing forward to actually burn belly fat and do things to facilitate that belly fat burn, that's the key element that's going to help you achieve burning belly fat. So before I dive into how to burn belly fat with intermittent fasting, I'm going to give you a baseline understanding of fatty tissue. Now, belly fat derives from two things, not just the subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that you can touch, that you can grab. It also involves visceral fat. And although visceral fat is internal, so it normally starts to crop up around the organs, it can still push the belly out, creating an even larger appearance on the belly. So if you want to lose belly fat, you're not just losing the subcutaneous fat, which is the fat under the skin. You also have to lose visceral fat, which is the fat that's internal, that's around the organs. Now, the way fat works, it isn't just a clump of fat. You don't just have fat all over your body and that just burns itself and goes away. You have fat cells, which are called adipocytes, and those are what holds fatty acids. And what are fatty acids? They are a triglyceride. So essentially is a triglyceride chain that breaks up when the brain requires the energy from the fat cell. The fat cell then opens up, breaks up the triglycerides, and sends the fatty acids through the bloodstream to the lungs or the heart or the muscle. That is the exact process of how you lose fatty acids. That is how lipolysis works, and you're constantly doing this at all times. Now, you have to understand that fat cells in and of itself does not go away. If a fat cell is selected to break up the triglyceride, send it through the bloodstream for energy, the fat cell simply shrinks and waits for a new triglyceride chain to go back into it. So basically, you have to play a game of deficits. You have to make sure that it shrinks and you have more of those fatty cells shrinking and releasing triglycerides than more of them getting more triglycerides and expanding. Because if you have more of them getting more triglycerides and expanding, you are gaining body fat. If you have more of them that are losing them while less of them are expanding, you are essentially burning more body fat. Now, the more fat cells that you have, the more adipocytes that you have in your body, the more signals actually are sent to the brain to fill those adipocytes. So people who tend to be overweight tend to have more adipocytes than someone who tends to be leaner. So those that appear to be just naturally leaner tend to have less adipocytes. So that means less fat cells sending signals that they want to fill themselves up, which those signals can trigger biological events that make you want to eat more. Things like ghrelin can be increased just to facilitate that need for more food, for more energy. So this energy deposit and release comes from calories, as you know, calories in versus calories out. That is this entire process, while we are focusing it on fatty tissue specifically, because remember, glucose carries energy, amino acids carry energy. So this is just looking at the fat cell specifically. Now, another element that is a little bit of an annoyance to many is that it tends to be harder to burn the belly fat than it is to burn places like fat around the face or fat around the arms, fat around the legs. Usually it's the hips, the belly fat, and the thighs that tends to release the adipose tissue the slowest, but then subsequently those are the places that tend to receive the fatty tissues the fastest. And that is super annoying, and I can understand, especially if you're trying to burn belly fat, which many people want to do. But here's the extra caveat that you have to understand. In those places that are harder to lose weight, that tend to be harder, remember, many people are different, but these places tend to be harder. There are two types of fat cells. There are harder fat cells to burn and easier fat cells to burn. It's called alpha and beta cells. The alpha fat cells are easier to burn. The brain usually sends the signals, and they're the first ones to jump to start sending the triglycerides and fatty acids through the bloodstream for energy for wherever it's required. The beta fat cells, however, they tend to say, nah, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna relax a little bit, I'm not gonna go and just send my fatty acids just because the brain is asking for it at this very moment. They tend to try to hold on until they have no choice, until so many of the alpha fat cells are breaking up the triglycerides, then they go and join in afterwards. But they're never the first ones to go, they're always the last ones to go. Now, every part of your body has alpha and beta cells, but certain parts of your body have more beta than alpha, and those parts tend to be the belly, the hips, and the thighs. With this understanding, you have to understand that patience is key, and you're not in it alone, because most people have this exact issue when they're trying to lose weight. So what are the things that you can do if you have lost weight and you're just trying to lose that belly weight that appears to not go away at all? Here's some things that you can do. First, of course, if you get yourself to a low body fat percentage, that is where you can start to remove the belly fat, because you're getting to that point where the body has no choice, where the beta fat cells are like, okay, I get it, there's barely any of the alpha fat cells, so I have to release some of the energy, and that will happen. So with patience, you can get there, but there are certain things you can do to try to get yourself there and not derail yourself, because you can accidentally derail yourself. Here are some things that you can do. Eating a lot of fiber, making sure that you're consuming fiber, because remember, what the fat cells are doing is sending signals that they want to fill itself with fatty acids. And this comes in the way of telling your body that you're still not full or you're not satisfied with the food that you're eating. High fiber foods absorb water when they're going through the digestive system and then turn it into a gel, which slows down the entire digesting process for a lot of the food that is being digested inside of your stomach. Because of this slowdown of the digesting process, you will actually feel more full. And because you feel full, you will eat less. So this kind of has that preventative, combative element with how the adipocyte, the fat cells, is constantly requesting fatty acids. Another thing that you can do is extend your fasting window, because as you know, if you've watched any of my content, when you go ahead and switch and do that post-absorptive range, you are now forcing your body to try to pull fats predominantly. So it's a calorie partitioning switchover. It's the metabolic switchover after 8 to 12 hours of not eating. And because you're doing this, you basically have more fishing hooks in the pond to pull those fatty acids from both the alpha cells and the beta cells. So if you extend your fast, for example, if you do 16-8, you can extend your fast to 24 or extend it to 1 meal a day, whatever you want to do. But that extension can then help you burn more body fat specifically. Remember, calories in versus calories out is still the primary driver of weight loss, but intermittent fasting helps you partition where the calories are coming from. Remember, once you go into that metabolic switchover, body fat burning or fat oxidation is exponentially increased versus all of the other energy sources. But one thing that you must keep in mind is that adherence is everything. If the 16-8 is better for you, just increase your fasting window for a short period of time and then go back to the 16-8, because all you're doing by extending it is trying to grab as much fat cells as possible. You can still be controlling your calories and do the 16-8 after you've completed that, where you get to a more comfortable place with the belly fat that you have on your body. Another thing is drinking less alcohol, or drinking alcohol in a more controlled fashion. For example, studies have shown, and I'll link one of the studies below, where if you drink alcohol every day, but just on a moderate level, it's actually much better for weight control and fat control than if you were to not drink every day and then on Friday drink a massive amount. You have to understand that alcohol is actually an energy substrate. Alcohol is an energy substrate and the body cannot store it. So if you consume alcohol, which is about 7 calories per gram, versus something like protein, which is 4 calories per gram, or carbohydrates, which is 4 calories per gram, your body cannot dip into the body fat until it uses all of the energy that you've consumed from alcohol. So if you constantly drinking, and you're just drinking the entire night non-stop, your body really cannot start using any of the body fat energy until it completely utilizes all of the calories coming from alcohol. So please keep in mind, guys, the best way to lose the body fat, and especially the belly fat, is patience. But understanding how it works can help you psychologically, and doing certain things to ensure that you're combating against those fat cells that continue to signal your body that they need their fatty acids. Doing the points that I just mentioned can help you combat that. And then once you get to a point of about 10% body fat, you should be very comfortable with where you are with your belly fat, because at this 10% point, your body has no choice but to pull from your belly fat, as it has already taken so much of the fat from so many other places. Now, don't get me wrong, throughout the period of losing weight, no matter how much body fat percentage you have, you will be losing some belly fat, because remember, you have alpha and beta cells everywhere, but your belly and hips and thighs tend to have more beta cells than they do alpha. I hope this video has helped you guys. And of course, as always, guys, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon. I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here.